wonder what kind of site Gus would make for this place.
Yeah, I don't know. We should try it.
Hey, it's Jared again, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the design behind Gus. I'm going to be joined by Molly and Human Gus, who are our brand designers, and they're going to be talking about what went into making Gus sites look beautiful and dynamic. I'm excited to get into this and really go under the hood. All right, let's look at some sites.
Okay. This was one of the earliest examples of a site that we built. This was before we even had Gus working as an application. So it was totally made on the back end by the engineering team, and it's super simple, just text, only 2 sizes, really simple typography, and the color is also pretty minimal in terms of the palette. I kind of like how it looks.
Me too.
Yeah.
Very simple and straightforward. It's doing the job that it needs to do, but it's still very early stages, as you can tell.
Yeah, no buttons or anything.
So obviously it's bare, but when you guys looked at this site for the first time, what did you think could improve?
Yeah, I think, the most important thing really is that the page functions for the specific purpose that you're building it for. Even something like this, it's a business, so it's there should be social media icons so people can check out their work. There should be a way to maybe sign up for a newsletter.
And how did you guys feel when you first saw what it was able to make a site like this?
I think honestly, I was are we gonna be able to do this? Are we gonna be able to make the sites more functional? Yeah, even though looking back on it, it's I think it looks cool, but I think at first I was okay, this is really simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. So what do we have here?
I think this is a website for homemade hamster cages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whose prompt this was. I feel like this is a good example of early attempts at layering text over an image.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely love the image that I was able to pull, just a headshot of the hamster directly looking at the audience.
Yeah, I think this was also before we had started designing sections. So you can see the header is left aligned, and then the subhead is right aligned, and then the header that's below that is centered, and then the footer is centered. So there's a ton of inconsistency in terms of how the type is being treated. And I think this probably led us to thinking about how do we make layouts for pages that can universally make sense no matter what's stacked on top of what, and still feel like you have all of the options for different type sizes that you need.
So did this feel more promising when you start to see, at least some different text hierarchy here?
Mm-hmm. You see a real increase in complexity from the first site to this site. And so even though it's not working perfectly and it looks kind of funny, I think the part that felt promising is that we can get a little bit more complex. It's able to do more than just type and a background.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Well, this one starts to look really promising. So
yeah.
Let's see what's next.
Okay. So this one was, we were at this point where we were feeling like we were getting good sites for specific purposes. So it felt like it was giving us good sites for stuff like a dog walking service. It would pick the right sections, it would put prices, it would allow you to book. But something that we were really struggling with was long form text. even though we were just talking about how GPT puts too much text, for some reason with blog posts, it like wouldn't give us more than like a few sentences. And so for this one, we actually ended up making a new section type, which basically like stacked a bunch of text and images on top of one another. And for the prompt, we asked it to be a kind of like sci-fi website for a fantasy short story series. And what was amazing is it did it really successfully. I mean, it wrote this story about a creature in a forest that's 4 chapters, and it has images that all kind of make sense. So this definitely felt like a huge success when it produced it. And I feel like the colors and the vibes were spot on too.
Very spot on. I love how it's able to come up with different names for different chapters. Like chapter 1, the arrival, chapter 2, the forest. Like it's able to produce like a somehow logical storyline for the user.
Yeah.
So on this, I'm starting to see that the styles and vibes that you guys designed are starting to come out in different sites. How is that happening? So based off of the prompt, how is it knowing what style and vibe actually makes sense?
Yeah. So sometimes it will ask you it's explicitly, sometimes GPT will ask like, what kind of style are you going for? But when it is not asking that, it's basically pulling from the language that you use in your prompt, the way that you describe your business or whatever you're building a site for, and it's returning from a list of vibes that we've produced. So like I said, I think that we have 12 right now, and so we'll always return a vibe within one of those 12. And the 12 can range from like professional to minimal.
To edgy, playful, quirky.
Yeah.
And these vibes are correlated with different font choices, color choices, things like that.
Color choices are separate, but yeah, different font choices. And soon, what we're working on now, it's not in the app yet, but it will also correlate with different layouts, more complex layouts that kind of specifically correlate to a vibe and a typeface.
So this is a site that we generated. It's pretty recent, I'd say, and it's for a motorcycle repair shop. I feel like this site is pretty good with the content that it was able to generate. It's able to give you a short description with an image, kind of past exhibitions and services with a contact buttons where someone is able to check their Instagram page or Facebook page.
So this site starts to look a lot like a template. So how did you guys feel when we started to see Gus make sites that are at this quality?
Good, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's like so close to being perfect. I think you really start to feel like, okay, it's almost there. Like this almost makes sense. And there are like these small errors that take you out of that sense of like, oh, this like really worked and was easy. So it's definitely like a feeling of it's getting closer and better at building these sites, but the stuff that sticks out becomes kind of more noticeable.
Definitely. To me, I think this feels like a proper site and has all the content that I would need in my website as a service. So yes, I feel like from the stage early on, this feels like we're getting closer to what we would like the Gus website to be, slowly but steadily.
Let's look at some of the inspiration that went into thinking about Gus.
I think obviously we want the Gus to be a high functional tool, exactly. A high functional tool where people are able to create sites that they want to make, but we also want it to be really playful.
That sense of play and possibility without kind of like feeling overwhelmed by the blank slateness of it all is kind of what we wanted to hit. One thing that we kind of both felt inspired by right at the beginning. I mean, and just in general, like even outside of Gus, is this program called KidPix that used to be on the computers in like the public library where I grew up. I don't know where you experienced it, but anyways, like a few months ago, Gus and I stumbled upon like a website version of KidPix. And it's basically just like a drawing tool, but it has all of these different brushes and effects, pictures, and there are these amazing noises that play as you like paint and draw. And I feel like that tool really feels so free and encouraging to use. It like, yeah, it just makes you want to use it by how fun it is.
It's like
yeah.
building your own world on a blank canvas, but with tools that is able to provide you the satisfaction of making whatever you want to make.
Yeah, totally. And there's also this element of like, if you don't know what to do, you just kind of click something else and then you try it out. So we wanted our tool to have that feeling also, and kind of like take the pressure out of building a site and be more just like, hey, just try this, like try a different prompt or like say something slightly differently, see what happens. It's not so serious.
Exactly. You know, one area where I really see that come to life is in the first question Gus asks you and how we suggest some site examples.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like wacky ideas of what a site might be. And I think it's there to get you started.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like the whole nature of the AI generation stuff is that it's iterative. Like you put one prompt in, but usually you don't stop there. Like first you kind of put a prompt in, see what happens, and then you continue to go from there.
All right, Gus, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for explaining the design behind Gus.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.